It's the year 2026, and while the world is quite literally burning around us, people are still fighting over review scores. Luckily, for Second Wind, we don't do review scores, so for people to get mad about our opinions on a video game, they do in fact have to watch and listen to what we have to say about it. It's usually quite easy to tell who didn't actually watch the video in the comments with that in mind. Now, the real issue for us critics in 2026 is that so often, the critiques we have about a game at launch are fixed so quickly that by the time our thoughts are publicly available, those critiques are already outdated. This pretty regularly leads to backlash from the online community for the critics getting it wrong, even though the game we played pre-release was quite a bit different than what you're playing on launch day. Crimson Desert has definitely been one of those games. Some critics even noted that it might be worth re-reviewing it entirely because recent updates made the core experience much better than what we played during the review period. The Crimson Desert that was a 6 for this particular reviewer at launch might be scored a little higher with the new fixes in place if they were to re-evaluate it now. As per usual, the weirdos on the internet who claim to never care about anything games media has to say, but get upset anytime we say anything at all, weren't pleased with that. For the very too online people, there seems to be a genuine belief that critics are pushing to boycott this game, even though most coverage on it was relatively positive despite complaints about a weak narrative and minor mechanics issues.
What's that? Got something to say? Go on then. Out with it. I'm all ears.
The review period for Crimson Desert was an interesting one. Typically, we're just sent a review code and a little guide that gives you some basic information, acknowledges technical issues the development team is aware of, and maybe provides some tips about the game. For Crimson Desert though, we were able to communicate with other reviewers as we played the game. Some of us worked together to solve some of the harder puzzles, highlighted issues we were having with the game, and talked generally about our experiences with it. As I noted in my own video on Crimson Desert, there were a lot of smaller complaints that added up to bring down the overall enjoyable experience I was having. Things like not having fast travel points in cities, having to spam A to sprint, the lack of inventory space, some truly bizarre control scheme options, and so on. I also said in my piece that I suspected many of those issues would be fixed relatively quickly after launch because of how many reviewers had the same complaints, and every issue I outlined has been corrected already. Games being fixed quickly is great, obviously. I'm most certainly not complaining about people having a better experience at launch. Pearl Abyss has been extremely quick to patch Crimson Desert's many minor issues, and it has genuinely made it a much better game than the one that critics has access to during the review period. Usually when you think of games evolving over time, we're picturing live service titles. But in recent years, that update frequency has quickly become the norm for many developers. With so many games available to play at any given time, developers don't have the luxury of waiting around before getting to work on fixing their titles. If there's a lot of problems at launch, mixed reviews on Steam can quickly sink a game's sales momentum as player expectations are rightfully sky high in 2026 for games being released in a polished state. The expectations were even higher for a highly anticipated game like Crimson Desert. The middling reviews of the game at launch had a direct impact on Pearl Abyss's stock prices, but they've since bounced back following incredibly strong sales and positive player feedback. Clearly, it's not a critic's job to worry about stock prices, it's to review the product that's put in front of them during the time they have ahead of launch. The conundrum this has caused for critics is an interesting one. At least with the old media model, having reviews ready to publish at embargo was especially important for obtaining the maximum amount of traffic. As soon as that embargo drops, players across social media and search engines are immediately looking up review scores and opinions from their favorite critics to help them decide if they should purchase the game right at release. That embargo drop is of course part of the marketing strategy for many games. Having the reviews all released at the same time gets the game a lot of attention and encourages conversation. It's beneficial for both the media covering the game to get viewers to their work, and the game company looking to get their time in the spotlight. But with how quickly games are being updated, and the generally short time critics have to review games of massive scale like Crimson Desert, it's frequently a double-edged sword for both sides. Critics are reviewing a product that will no longer represent the game people are playing just after launch, which in turn leads players to believe they've been misled by the media, and the outdated reviews can also lead to lower sales. And then you factor in just how many games are released every week on top of that, and for a media publication that covers a vast variety of games, it's hard to even financially justify going back to reevaluate a game because readers and viewers typically will have moved on already, and the next big game is always just around the corner. The longer you wait to publish, the less traffic will be available as people's interest will have dwindled, and the time spent playing that game for coverage in the first place will have lost its value. Critics like Yahtzee can get away with holding their reviews for longer because of name recognition, the vast majority cannot. The unfortunate thing is there's no right answer to this in the media space. Critics can hold their reviews for longer, but there's no guarantee that the game you critiqued will be even better after a few patches. It's rare that games completely turn things around, and even rarer that games have such massive overhauls that they become an entirely new experience like No Man's Sky or Final Fantasy XIV. There's an extensive list of games that even I want to go back to for another look because of all the improvements that have been made to them over the years. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Stalker 2, Echoes of the End. Hell, I even often hear that Fallout 76 is worth checking out these days. I'm sure you'll be listing endless examples of games that have gotten transformative updates that you want to return to in the comments. Games media is in an interesting space in 2026, with more games to cover than any person can reasonably keep up with, and frequent updates that can potentially alter entire experiences literally overnight. As a critic, I'm constantly wondering when the right time to cover a game is, and I often arrive at the conclusion that at launch might be the worst time to do it. A weird problem to have when we want to be timely for the audience, and the market thrives on the fear of missing out. But we also want to be accurate in our representation of what players are actually playing, which is often entirely out of our control.